Sure. Do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure.
Carrie Rumanowski.
Okay. I will. Well, first of all, I just want to say welcome, everybody. It's so good to see your faces. I'm so excited. And just a great opportunity for us to let you know about the 10th anniversary celebration for Escape to Thrive and where it's at, where it's going. It's been changing, as you can imagine, but so anyway, and that's what we're going to do today, and hopefully answer a lot of questions that you have. And I do want to let you know that Mindy's going to flash up some mini polls, so in surveys, and these are going to be very informal, and they're going to be very, anonymous. So you can just answer those as we go along, and we'll share those results with you. Okay, might be interesting for you. So I'm going to share what the program looks like with you for the 10th celebration of advocacy. And we, like I said, we've been adapting and changing. You probably noticed that the one date has already been changed. And so, it's just like what you're doing with your organizations, right? I mean, that's been the name of the game the last year is just adapting what's going on. But I do want you to know that this really is going to be a true celebration of advocacy, and it will happen, and it's going to happen. So all the planning and everything we've been doing up to this point is it's making and creating this beautiful program for you all. So about a year ago, just to bring you up to speed a little bit, we put a call out for volunteers because we really wanted this to be a celebration for alumni, by alumni, and like 30 people within days responded. So all those 30 people are on committees. 6 or 7 of them are chairs and co-chairs of 4 different committees that we formed. So if you're on a committee, you want to just raise your little hand so people can see you. Okay, great. All right. So you see there's lots of people on this call that have committed to these 4 committees. So the program committee has been working really hard, and they've come up with 3 content and topic areas for the celebration. The first one is collaborations. We are going to celebrate the heck out of all the collaborations you have been doing with other escapees, and just, because that's been a big thing of our conference. So we're going to celebrate all those and hear about many of them. And we're also going to be, affording lots of time for real-time collaborations to happen all through the conference. And then also the second topic is integration, equity and inclusion in cancer care. Those of you who attended last year, we took this topic and really, with the help of a lot of people, really approached it in a real novel way. And it was such a hit that we're going to do that again. So, and you all know from this last year with COVID and, just what a year it's been for people getting healthcare, right? So it's so timely for us to talk about that this year. And then the third topic is personal wellness. A lot of you personally and professionally have just been so challenged in this last year. And so the program committee has really said that they really want to tackle this topic. And so that going forward, we feel stronger you feel supported as advocates going forward, okay? So and what better place to do that, right, than Miraval? So the challenges of COVID-19 and 2020 will be kind of woven throughout all those topics because we can't ignore those, right? They've been such a part of our lives and really forced us to look at things differently. So we'll be weaving those in and out of the topics the whole time. So the format, we're going to be a larger group, hopefully. So we will have some large group, and that might look like several large groups, but we'll also have smaller breakouts and workshops. And those of you who've attended like maybe the first 3 years, we utilize this format, but we'll be running workshops concurrently. And so that you'll have an opportunity, many opportunities to get to topics, and that will help our group size. And also we'll be repeating workshops that seem to be really, that you're all have high interest, okay? So we're really cognizant of that, and we're gonna make that happen. Let's see, and then of course we'll have the Miraval Wellness. There's the first little poll I see popped up there. So they'll have, you know, the activities, we'll have the spa, and that'll be part of the program as usual, okay? And we'll be giving you lots of time for that like we usually do too, all right? So, and what I'm really excited about is the program committee. We've decided that you all, those people that have been accepted as qualified advocates to come to the alumni celebration, will be the presenters, the discussion leaders, and workshop leaders, because we have so much expertise in this group, right? We just have so much. So this will be a great way for us all to share our expertise with one another, and there'll be an application, and the program committee will decide who gets to do that. So, but that'll be a real opportunity for us, again, for it to be by advocates for advocates. The participation committee has devised the application, and they've really spent a lot of time, you know, reviewing that, tweaking it from what it's been a little bit in the past, and they have come up with a criterion for acceptance. So you'll see all of that on the website, and that'll be just really clear to you. So our goal really is to accept as many qualified alumni advocates as possible. That's going to be kind of two things, right? Space availability, right? And the other is funding. So, you know, in the past where you've paid a registration fee, but it's just a portion of what it costs for you to be at Miraval and partaking of the conference. So really, we've all been on scholarship, right, every year. So that will depend, you know, how many people that can come will be dependent upon the funding. So we've been writing grants like crazy. We still need more money. So if you know of any companies, this is my little plug, if you know of any companies or individuals, foundations that would be really interested in, you know, celebrating advocacy and all the collaborations, please let me know, or Mindy know, because we can pursue those and hopefully get as many people as we possibly can, because we've been working with Miraval and we have an expanded number of rooms available. So I know you have lots of questions about, dining, how are we going to eat together, and the Miraval group activities and spa and safety precautions, all those things. So I'm going to turn you over to some folks to discuss those things with you. And so first, I'm going to introduce 3 people to you. Sherry Muskin. Yay, Sherry, you want to give a little wave? And you all know Sherry. She's the resort manager, and she's the person we go to for those aha moments, right? And she's always around and so interested in what we do. So we're really excited. Yes. We're really excited that she's going to be with us. And Courtney Tweedy, let's see, I can't see because of the survey, but Courtney's there. I know I saw her. She's the event planning manager, and she'll be able to answer probably specific questions. And then, of course, Mindy Griffith, our fearless leader from Bag It, will answer some questions from more of the organizational side of things for Bag It. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Sherry, if that's okay. All right. All right. Thanks.
Nice to
We can't hear you, Sherry.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better. It was very, it's very fuzzy.
Okay. Hopefully my speakers have turned up. Okay. I was saying how nice it was to see all of your smiling faces. Can you hear me? Some of you are, let me see. Courtney, can you hear me okay? Can you, second?
Sound is pretty muffled.
Yeah, you have a little bit of an echo, Sherry.
It's really garbled and muffled.
Okay, let me see if I can change my speaker.
Oh, technology is so much fun, right? Even when we practice things, we still end up with challenges. So it's all good.
Does that sound any better or no? Any better?
A little bit better, but you're still sounding like there might be a bit of an echo.
And now?
Sherry, Judy in chat suggested if you try earbuds, or what else? In built-in mic, use the built-in mic.
Go to the preferences up at the top under where it says Zoom USA, and then select audio, and make sure that you have selected the built-in mic.
Yeah, I don't, it's,
And then if you have earbuds that have a mic or a headset of some sort, that's helpful. And then there's something else. Let me think about this, because I've had this problem myself before and I can't remember.
Sometimes turning off the video if it's a bandwidth issue to improve the audio.
does that sound any better?
Or
A little.
the opposite, Brian, shut off the video to improve the audio.
Yes, shut off the video to improve the audio. Yeah.
Does that sound any better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I could see your faces, you just can't see mine. How's that?
That'll work.
Okay, perfect. Well, certainly we're very excited to be able to welcome some of you back and welcome some other individuals that perhaps haven't been to Miraval. And I will tell you, since we have been back in operation, there's certainly many things that we have learned about operating in this environment. But what I will tell you is that as we celebrate 25 years of well-being, that is still the important core to who we are and what we do. And our colleagues are excited that we're able to be able to do that every single day. I'll try to go through what I believe it maybe will be some of the concerns or questions that you all may have. And then, certainly if I don't answer any of those questions, I believe we'll do a Q&A at the end. What I will tell you is that all of our colleagues have gone through a training from a safety and health standpoint, and all of our leaders have gone as well. We have received 2 certifications, one with the Global Biorisk Advisory Council and one with Safe Hotels, to make sure that what we're doing and how we're operating is not only done from that we're saying that it's okay, but those 2 companies are also saying that we're operating at a level that we should be operating at, and then some. Our colleagues every day, we provide a well-being checkpoint for our colleagues to make sure that we're keeping each other safe, and there's protocols that we go through from a colleague perspective. I know one of the questions that have come up since the vaccinations is, are we requiring our colleagues to get vaccinated? And we are not requiring that. That is a choice, and that is not something, it's a belief for our colleagues. That's not something that we require as a company with Miraval or with Hyatt as well. And we are not asking our colleagues if they do get vaccinated to share that with us as well. But again, we are still providing those protocols in place. And depending upon which area a colleague works in, those protocols could be a little bit different from a PPE or protective gear perspective as well. We do a little bit of screening for our guests that are come in. When I say a little bit, we do ask them at check-in if they are experiencing any symptoms, and if at any point along the way, if they are, we ask them to report it to us. If a guest does have symptoms that is reported to us, we do ask the guests to self-isolate. And if the guest self-isolates, then we also, they have to self-isolate until they can provide us with a negative COVID test. There is a company that will come on site and do that. We do not do testing on site, which is, I think, one of the questions that some of you may have, but we don't do any testing on site for our colleagues or for our guests either. Along with the guest as well, is we also do a screening at the spa as well, a temperature screening, and that is the only place that we check temperature currently for our guest. The reason why I said currently is, as we know, as some of the protocols and regulations have really more so from the regulations have changed in some of the state and some of the county. As many of you know that live in Arizona, when the mask mandate and some of the other counties lifted some of the regulations they had placed, we still currently have not lifted some of the mandates that we have. Now, a lot could happen again between now and October, but we're still operating at a reduced capacity, and we're still operating at a reduced capacity in some of our classes. We continue to monitor that, and so it's not all or nothing. So some of our classes, if it's may have, from a social distancing standpoint, we were following the guidelines of 6 feet. With the lifting of the mandate, some of those classes, especially those that are outside, will move to a 3 feet spacing versus 6 feet. Currently in the dining area, we are still maintaining 6 feet because, again, in those areas, the guests are unmasked, as opposed to in some of those areas where the guests are still masked. So some of those numbers, again, will change. We will continue to share with you if any of those regulations and what we're doing from a resort perspective change as we are going through and planning the program. But know that a lot of the things that we're doing, we can't predict the future. So we're being, cautious as much as we want to be, cautiously optimistic. We still want to make sure that we're doing things as the current environment that we know today, again, just because we can't predict what that future will be. So I tried to give you some stuff high level without getting too much into the nitty-gritty. Wanted to make sure that it painted enough of the picture so that when it comes to the Q&A, if you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. Mindy, Sherry, did you think I did enough on the overall?
Yeah, I think that was great. I think it's unfortunate that we can't see your lovely smiling face. You're sending us lots of love that way. But yes, thank you.
If I can jump in with one question, not sure you answered this. Who's masked and who isn't masked? Are the staff all masked? I know it will change by October, but as of today, who's masked? What have you asked of the guests in terms of masking?
Yeah, so Brian, all guests and colleagues are still currently all masked. Again, even though that was, it's no longer mandated, we are still following that guideline.
Thank you.
I had a question. Are you still doing food service the same way? So there are buffets at breakfast and lunch, or has that changed with COVID?
So that is usually always my second question. And look at you, you were right on time. We currently are not offering the buffet. The menus are breakfast and breakfast, lunch, and dinner all have a plated menu or a la carte menu. We're still offering food in Coyote Moon off of a menu as well. Palm Court is still open, and we do offer grab and go still in Palm Court, and everything is individually packaged.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being right on time. I literally, almost every call I do, it's like this, it is literally the second question. And I love it because I always say that our food is certainly a big part of who we are and what we do. And certainly the buffets have been for a long time.
Great. Thank you so much, Sherry, and for being here with us. And please feel free, if you guys have questions, feel free to send them in the chat. If they aren't going through for some reason, feel free to send them straight to Susan Siegel. And we will have like an open Q&A just like that at the end. I'll just cover a few kind of, logistical stuff on the organizational side of it and what's happening from there. So
I do see Kelly has her hand up.
Oh, okay, great. Go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry. I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't sure if I heard you correctly. Did you say that you guys are not doing workplace testing?
I'm sorry, Kelly, could you ask that again?
Yeah, or did I hear you correctly that you are not doing any workplace testing of your colleagues?
We don't do COVID testing. We have a well-being checkpoint that the colleague has to answer specific questions, but we are not doing COVID testing on site.
Okay, thanks.
Does the well-being checkpoint include temperature checks?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a question.
Sorry, the physician here has to interject. Temperature checking is completely unreliable. Smell testing would actually be better, seeing if people could smell a certain scent. It's a relatively small percentage. More people have difficulty smelling stuff. And then, of course, that doesn't help at all with people that are asymptomatic and have the infection. None of those are going to help with that.
Yeah, it's tricky for sure.
Do you know what rate of infections you've had among your staff?
I don't know offhand. Now, I will tell you though, it would obviously depend on whether or not the colleague was actually back to work as well. That number would be a little funky when I say funky, because we did have some colleagues that were not back to work early on that reported that they had had COVID, but were not yet working. I can tell you we have not had a positive case from a colleague in 10 weeks. I can also tell you on the risk assessment for any colleague, there was no colleague to colleague infection that was given from one colleague to another in our risk assessment, nor was there any colleague to guest or guest colleague.
Okay, thank you. That's really good info.
Did I understand correctly that Arizona no longer has a mask mandate?
That is
correct. Okay, how long has that been gone?
It was since last Thursday, I think it was Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. And they never actually, as a state, it wasn't a state mandate, but many of the counties followed it.
Okay.
And you guys are still following CDC guidelines and everything currently, right, Sherry, you had said?
We are, yep.
So yes, they're still requiring masks there at Miraval, even though if you venture out in other places in Arizona, and there are still a lot of places in Arizona that are, even though the state has lifted it, many restaurants and everything are still encouraging people to wear it and have the signs and everything, but it is definitely a little trick there, so.
And we do electrostatic spraying throughout the resort every 2 hours in the public areas. And again, we believe based on the number of guests that we've had, the number of colleagues that we have, while there's no, guarantee, we do know that the protocols that we have in place, are keeping us safe. Courtney, can I use you as an example today? As I put you on the spot?
Please, yes.
So here's a perfect example. Courtney, child, is ill. Because he's ill, Courtney is working remote today. So she would not make it past the wellness checkpoint because she could possibly have been exposed to somebody who is experiencing symptoms. That is not necessarily the case where, her son is, but he's experiencing symptoms. It's the same thing. So, some would say, some companies are, if you've been exposed to somebody who has been positive, we are saying could possibly have been exposed to somebody that's experiencing symptoms.
Can I ask, are the staff being vaccinated at this point?
And again, as what I was saying earlier was that is a colleague choice. We are not, no one has to be vaccinated here. Early on in Arizona, the spa was part of the first wave. And now frontline workers, including restaurant individuals and others, are part of, the current environment that they could get a vaccination in, but it's not a requirement.
A couple other questions in there, Sherry. One, and I think you did address this, but are guests required to wear masks in common areas? And I think you had said throughout property, but.
Yeah, whenever they can't social distance, they are required to wear a mask. So even if you're on a hike and it's outdoors, they're required to wear a mask because it's difficult to social distance and keep that social distancing at any given point. So guests are required to wear a mask unless they're eating or drinking. We ask them to have it available, so if they're walking along the pathway and they're coming up upon someone, even though they might have just been drinking, guests are, most of the guests, because they're at a well-being resort, are very respectful. Some individuals have their own thoughts around what mask wearing is or whether or not they should wear it, those that have been vaccinated. But again, we're just letting them know this is what our current protocols are. And if someone chooses to be here, we're asking them to follow our protocols.
And then there's a question about, oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, and when the governor on Thursday or Friday, and again, I'm sorry, I can't remember which day it was, relaxed, the mandates that were in place, we sent out communication to our upcoming reservations to let them know that our regulations and what we're asking guests to do and policy and protocols did not change.
Sherry, do you anticipate, because obviously, as Arlene pointed out, and we are very aware of this, that there is it's, April almost, and things could change as they, changed a lot in the last 2 weeks, at least here in Arizona, and I know in other places, that we anticipate, by October, we don't know where things will be or what will be happening then. And part of our challenge as the planners of the event, and with the resort, is knowing that we still need to meet some guidelines, right? Like we need to cancel in a respectable amount of time or postpone it for all of you, as well for Miraval and the areas. And so things like a mask, do you anticipate at this point with any Hyatt policy or anything that any of that would change throughout this year?
Bless you. It's really hard to say, Mindy, because I know Hyatt is going to continue to follow along with the CDC guidelines. And, and everything that you read and everything that you hear still continues to say, mask up.
Perfect. So you guys are committed to following CDC guidelines. So I think that is helpful for people that aren't in Arizona. They don't have to make sure they're following their own state and every state, that if they kind of have a sense of CDC information.
And Hyatt has been, some could say cautious, and maybe too cautious in this environment. Again, us being a well-being resort, we just don't feel like we could be too cautious. One of the things, again, even with colleagues being vaccinated, there's still not enough data to our understanding and to our comfort level to say if that colleague still has been exposed to somebody who has COVID. We're still following the guidelines that we're going to treat it as if, perhaps they could, still be a carrier. We don't know that.
Great.
Sherry, we have a question about the room cleaning process and what that looks like.
So in terms of the daily cleaning, in terms of how we clean, disinfectant, I just want to make sure I address.
All of the above.
Okay. Yeah. So we currently we're operating under the fact that in your sanctuary, we were not going back into the room unless it was requested. And then once we did go back into the room, our cleaning products have changed so that we're using cleaning products now that the kill time is almost instantly, versus some of it having to sit for 5 to 7 minutes. So some of those cleaning products have changed. Again, I say currently, unless somebody opts in to housekeeping, we don't do turn down service. We will probably at some point move into just opting out of housekeeping, as you could imagine, for many different reasons, why we may do that, and that may be something that will happen, over the next 4 weeks or so, that we are looking at. If we do move to that format, again, it may be that we're coming into the room and doing refreshing and cleaning, but following still the guidelines of not changing the linen per se every single day, which we didn't do, pre-COVID.
Thank you. And we will get back to, again, feel free to put some questions in the chat or write them down so you remember them as we get to it. I just wanted to answer a couple things that have come up in chat on sort of the other side of it. So our current plan is that next week, everybody will get a survey. I know we've done a lot of surveys, but we want, the conference is important and we know that people are interested, but we also want to make sure that everyone is safe. And so we want your input, and it's kind of a group decision here based on information. So there will be a short survey going out, kind of just asking, it's anonymous, so nobody's going to know, it does ask for your email, but nobody aside from myself that monitors it will be seeing any results, and I'm not looking for particular points on if you were or weren't vaccinated and who you are and whatever, because there are reasons for everybody. But we are just trying to have some of that information to see where people's comfort level is, how people are feeling about things. So we'll kind of be asking about that. We will be asking about one, if you plan to attend, kind of after this and what information you have, some information about rooms. So it'll be really quick. It'll be a very short turnaround. We're kind of on a schedule. So to meet Miraval's guidelines and our guidelines, we're kind of working backwards and holding this out as long as we can to make proper decisions for everyone, right? For booking airline flights, for allowing, if we decide to postpone, what do those dates look like? Allowing Miraval to open up the property again. If we're right now, we have a lot of interest when we did it originally, and so we would be taking up a large population, of their rooms. So we don't want to wait until the last minute to impact them, because they've always been very supportive of us. So that survey will be really important. And then from there, we will have applications near the end of April. And then they'll be due in May. And then our goal will be to let everybody know by the end of May, kind of what the if you were accepted or not. And then moving forward with the final payment due by the end of June, so that we can make sure that we're meeting all of our guidelines. Now, with that, one of the questions will be, do you want a single room? Do you want a double room? And where your comfort level is. We have currently reserved more single rooms than we typically have. Thank you, Miraval. But there is an added expense to that to cover the cost of it. We will also, it's also will be a matter of, are you comfortable rooming with someone else as long as you maybe know them or you've had a vaccine? So the roommate situation will be tricky, but we will have singles and doubles. Once we have the survey information, it will also allow us to see if we need to increase the number of single rooms that we currently have, so that we can accommodate more people if they are interested, and if that's sort of a barrier for them. We will not, similar to Miraval, we will not be requiring people to have vaccines. I mean, there's just too many legalities in that for us to be involved in that. And we're asking on the survey just simply so we have some status information, and we can say, look at this, 97% of the attendees either have had the survey or intend to have it before October or whatever, and share that out. But also that might come into play for roommates and how we do things as we think of what the programming looks like and how many people can be in rooms and how we move stuff around. In terms of refunds, so we will have, like I said, the deposits due by the end of June. This is discussion based on that the world doesn't go crazy again, right? So if things go crazy again, that's just going to change it all. If everything kind of shuts down and everything, that would be a whole different dynamic, and we would have, we would revisit that at that time. We would not be refunding you for flight arrangements, so we would encourage you to get travel insurance. Is not super expensive. If your flight is really crazy, some of the flights are still offering, that you can change it and postpone it over time, or wait till closer to make that decision. Miraval has always been very kind and generous in working with us to, if people are canceling closer to date. So we do have a little bit more time beyond June if you have to cancel for our obligations to Miraval. So we can work with you there. We've traditionally tried to work with you as best we can and offer a refund. Often we keep the $100 deposit, but for many people in the last few years where they've had a situation come up, we've applied that to the next year. So if they were able to attend the next year, then we've applied that deposit to them. Because obviously we still have expenses early on as we try to do things and commitments that we have. But we also know that, and want to be respectful of all of you. We are looking at how we arrange it. So the other part that will be valuable for the survey is how the program committee, we've got to get sessions planned, and we will be, as Sherry said, asking all of you to be the presenters, but we need to know who's coming so that we can also plan that. It's, a conference can't be planned overnight, to make sure that we are meeting room obligations and spacing requirements. Courtney's provided us with a great list of outdoor meeting spaces, how we can maybe duplicate sessions. So we have some in the morning and some in the afternoon. So if things are, you know, the activities have smaller numbers or whatever, we want to make sure that everybody can partake in everything. So we are really working on figuring out how to pull all that together once we know if we are going to move forward in October, or if we, you know, if the comfort level is that we need to look to postpone it. Anything else, Sherry, that I was supposed to touch on there?
I think that's it. Just, you know, just for you to know that, you know, we want the program to reflect a celebration, so, and the integrity of the program. So we really are, I just really encourage you, if you know of escapees that are not on this call, that it's going to be recorded so they can listen to it and get some of their questions answered. And if you can make sure that that survey is coming out April 8th. So if you would look for that and get that back to us, we would really, really appreciate it, because that will help planning going forward. But do remember, we are committed to having the celebration, but we are also committed to seeing how safe everybody feels right now. So to commit in October. So, you know, just know we're there for you, okay, and for the celebration.
Sherry or Courtney, could one of you talk a little bit about the spa and the exercise classes and the different activities and what's happening in those?
Yeah, and I did, and I'm so sorry, I did want to, I confirmed, I can't remember who asked me about what the percentage was of colleagues. It's just under 1%. So most of our services from the spa are back. The only services that we're currently not doing are the ones that are in the water. So Aqua Zen, Passagara, and that's for obvious reasons, because of mask wearing. Our providers, we are doing facials for guests as well. And all of our majority of our outdoor activities are still happening. There's a couple of them that we are currently not doing, again, just from a mask perspective. Our fitness classes are currently right now, again, they're all pretty much, I can't think of any fitness classes that we're currently not doing. When we can do classes outside, we do them outside as well. The same thing with yoga and meditation. So all of our services and activities pre-COVID, they're pretty much all back online except for maybe 5 or 10%. It's just the number of individuals in classes that have changed a little bit. Courtney, was that pretty much?
That was perfect. And I would say, to add on to that, we have looked at the schedule and opportunities to offer the same offerings multiple times during a day where we can, so that guests can really experience the same offerings that they've done in the past, and then some of our new ones as well.
Great. Jamie was asking about our target numbers. So we've had over 125 people that have attended Escape over the years. And so our target number, we have full funding and opportunity to be able to, for 60 people right now, but we are working on some additional funding. When we did the initial survey, kind of right pre-COVID, we did have like 90 people that indicated they were interested and would like to come and be part of the celebration. And so we do have the capacity to do that, but that is why the survey will be super, super important, because depending on how the numbers are with Miraval, they're not still at full capacity. So it could be, you know, we need to make sure we have those rooms booked in advance and have them there, so that right now we're taking up what percentage of the rooms? I think Courtney said like 80% of what's currently available, I think we have reserved. So
Yeah.
our goal, yeah. So our goal is to be able to accommodate whoever wants to come. We're not quite sure what a minimum number would be in terms of a go ahead. We're sort of waiting to see how many people respond to the survey and have a sense of that to really then kind of look at it. But our target is at a minimum. We would like to have 60 people there. Because again, it's a celebration. So it's different than the past years where we have a smaller number. We really want all of you to be able to engage and connect with each other as best we can, but we also don't necessarily want to be postponing it indefinitely, you know, and see where that goes, because that gets challenging and draining on all of us. So that's kind of where the committee is, and we're going to talk and after the survey and kind of see where we go from there. So we will be in touch for sure and let you all know.
I think thank you for answering that. And in your communication with email and the surveys, I think everybody understands things are changing rapidly, and hopefully we continue to go in the right direction, but we all understand this is uncharted waters. I find it motivating, and you've always been very transparent, but maybe in those surveys, if you have updates as you start receiving commitments from people, that is a bit of a reassurance for whatever it's worth. Obviously, hopefully we're all making decisions based on science, and our own individual circumstances are going to merit whether or not we're able to attend or not. But it is a bit of a comfort knowing that folks who I respect in the community, maybe those numbers are trickling upwards.
Right. And that's what's so hard, right? I mean, here we are April, and so it's far off, and we hope that things are progressing in the right direction. And so we're just we're having to monitor it regularly. So thanks, Jamie. What other questions does anyone have for Sherry and Courtney at Miraval, or Sherry and I from the Bag It Escape side, or is there anything else that we can answer for you?
Mindy, this is Valencia. I'm going to email you a couple of questions that I have.
Okay. Please feel free to email us at any time. I mean, we will, and we will post them in the Facebook group if you're part of that, and we will try to share them that way. And we will do an e-blast after this, and obviously with the survey that we'll have the recording. And if new questions come in that we feel are relevant that maybe weren't addressed here, we'll kind of pop those into there as well. But don't hesitate to reach out to Sherry or myself at any time. We're happy to figure it out. People keep asking us, oh, are you going to do it virtual? And we keep trying to stress this conference is not a virtual conference opportunity. I mean, that's a key part of it, is the collaborations and the self-care and stuff. And we really just can't, we just don't feel it will have the same piece that everyone loves about Escape isn't going to come across in a virtual conference. So we would rather postpone it and figure it out to make sure that it's safe and what everybody has loved about Escape for all these years.
I'm very grateful for this information, and I would just want to remind people that, because there's a number of cancer survivors around the table here, the virtual table, that we're flying in a zero data zone in terms of our protection with vaccinations. We have all the studies were not done on immunocompromised people. And obviously, it's a very different group. If you had a cancer that was taken care of 30 years ago and you've dedicated yourself to advocating for others, and you're treatment free for 30 years, you're going to be very different than if you're a blood cancer patient like me who doesn't make any antibodies and doesn't respond to vaccines. So, it's going to be really important to talk with your healthcare team about those personal decisions, and it really varies from solid to liquid cancers and how recent the cancers, and if you've had antibodies, you've had chemo, and when those were, and and how that timed with your vaccinations. So I think that's one thing that people have to weigh in, and then they have to look at the where are they going? I mean, if you're not vaccinated, but everybody around you is completely protected and you're free, then it doesn't really matter. If we do have herd immunity, if people are protected, or if we have good therapeutics, then you can feel safer about these things. But these are all decisions we'll be making in April about something that's going to be happening in October. So it's going to be, at least for me, very difficult to be confident that I'll feel comfortable going in October. So I'm not quite sure what the right thing for me to do is I'd love to go if things change in October, but for me to say I'm going to go, difficult to do that. And so, maybe that's something we can talk about, is how you want. I'm leaning this way if things change, but from what I heard from Miraval, it's just not high enough reassurance for me. When people with blood cancers have a 30% mortality rate with COVID, I just don't see myself taking that kind of risk.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, right? We'll just put you in a big plastic bubble, and then you'll be good.
There you go. Right.
But
Little
and that
oxygen
is really
tank on
valid.
the back. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So,
Mindy?
I think that was one of the questions that I had was, if you answered it, I missed the answer, but if you could give me a resource, or if there's some way you can update us. I have no idea what's happening out in Arizona, because that's so far out of my world, so far from me. And I've tried to go online and kind of check your stats versus my stats, that sort of thing. And I haven't found anything that seemed that I could tell was a reputable source. So if there's some way you can share that with us along the way, that would be helpful to me, because I feel fairly confident about being on site. But, if you don't even have a mask mandate, then, that's a whole nother ball game, like Brian just says. And so it just would be helpful to have that kind of information when I'm completing the survey. And Brian, you can remember with me, I've been vaccinated.
Oh, I wanted to share something. I just found out a few days ago that the, is it Lymphoma and Leukemia, or Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the LLS, is doing a study now for blood cancer survivors, because I'm a blood cancer survivor and a solid tumor survivor, that you can, and I could share the link with you, Mindy, to share with people, but you can go to their link and answer a survey, and they will actually send you a blood work slip to go to LabCorp, I believe it is. And yeah, and they'll test your blood after vaccination. Some of it's before, some of it's other, to give blood cancer survivors an idea if we do have antibodies. I don't have a spleen, so there's a question for me as well, but that's just something that I just found out about this week. So other people, it might be beneficial and help them along the way too. So
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. There's a number of people doing surveys on solid tumors and in blood cancers. So you can check around on clinicaltrials.gov, and on our website, cllsociety.org. We have 3 different trials with links, including the LLS, Leukemia Lymphoma Society's trials, that people can go to and get some results. That said, while it makes sense that having antibodies means that you're protected, there's no evidence that having antibodies is protective. It doesn't mean that they're not protective. It means exactly what I said. There's no evidence that they are protective. So, and there's no evidence not having antibodies, you're not protected, because there's T cell function. It's extraordinarily complicated. So it's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down, but it's something that I think every one of us has to discuss with their healthcare team in terms of what's going on. If you're a cancer patient and you're vaccinated, you're not out of the woods. It's unless you're really, it's so distant in your past and your immunity is fully recovered.
thanks, Brian.
I also wanted to mention that I know you hear this about Arizona, but Pima County, where we are, is still following the mask mandate. And they, so, I'm sure a lot of your states are experiencing this, where the governors are going, like, oh, we're going to be back in business. But the counties are still, making a decision. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I think what Sherry mentioned is that, currently, and I don't know if this will be, if you can ascertain this for future, but they're following CDC guidelines. Okay. And I think that's what's really important. So I think the plane ride is something to consider, but, then you're getting on a van and you're coming straight to Miraval. So, you just kind of got to think the whole thing through, right? And we can give you updates on what's happening in our county, and Sherry can, and we can get updates from Sherry on what Miraval is doing. But, you know, it's just, you know, how it's been this past year, right? It's like things are changing weekly. So I know that doesn't help any, but.
There was a question about if people would be able to participate hybrid or virtually. We're not there yet, Kim. We're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. But obviously where that fits into the budget and what skill, you know, how the programs look like, because it is this year compared to the last handful of years, we won't be doing as many large group. We will be more traditional conference sessions. And so it might be harder to make that happen, especially if we're doing some outside and everything, but it might, you know, so I don't know. We don't know yet. I think after we do the survey and the committee gets back together and we start to look at what's happening and what the program looks like, then we will have some of that. Any other questions? I know some people have had to go and it is after 5. I don't want to keep people, but we also want to be, you know, answer any questions that we can answer for you.
Yeah, and I don't want to be a downer on this. I mean, you should check. I mean, there's some encouraging, really tiny pieces of data for people with solid tumors that they respond to the vaccines. I mean, really small numbers, but it's encouraging. It's a little different with blood cancers, to be honest, and it depends on where you are. But it doesn't. What I want to say with cancer doesn't mean you're not protected. Also doesn't mean you are protected with the vaccine. And there's a whole bunch of other factors that go into it, not just your vaccine status. So it shouldn't be no. I mean, it should be a careful decision that you should weigh about whether you go or not.
Sherry, Courtney, there was a question that came in about transportation. Are the vans more frequent? Is there a limit on the number of people for each load? I assume people are still wearing masks, you know, on there as well.
Yes, all of those. For transportation, we are currently still observing social distancing in the vans, requiring masks for colleagues as well as for guests.
Courtney, I think, I don't know if it was you.
Right now, depending on the size of the vehicle, it's about 50% capacity that we will have in each van. I'm not sure if you could hear me.
No, you were very,
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, now we can.
Oh, how about now?
Perfect, Courtney.
Okay, yes, we are observing social distancing within the vans for transportation to and from. We are requiring masks too.
Any other questions anyone has? Well, we thank you all. You're welcome to stay on and chit chat with one another and visit, but you know, thank you guys for the information. We will share it out, and again, feel free to email us with any questions, and look for the survey on the 8th, and please fill it out so we can figure it out. Thank you all.
Thanks so much for doing this. Great to see everybody.
Yeah, spread the word. Okay. Everybody's popping off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait for those East Coasters.
Yep. It's late.
Thank you, Susan. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, do you want me to end the poll or is that?
I think that
we were going to show the results. Oops.